Hello, everyone. It's about to be a new year, 2021. And so let's talk about 2020 real quick. I try to be a positive person, so I refuse to think that this was the worst year of my life. I want to just not think about it that way. I want to find all the good things that came from this year and just focus in on those things and get a little perspective. I found that my kids did a lot better than maybe a lot of grown-ups during this year. I mean, my kids, sure, they had some struggle understanding and just wondering when this pandemic is going to be over. But for the most part, they just continued, living their life and adapting to the changes, the new lifestyle changes that we had. Mostly we stayed home a lot. And so I just think that this is probably going to strengthen our children's generation. And I'm glad that they have that, they'll have that time in their life that they can look back at and think, we've been through this kind of thing already in our life. So I think that's one good thing that's going to come from this. Another thing is that I guess I joined a book club this year, Girl Talk Apologetics, and I was able to gather with special ladies and discuss and learn about apologetics in a fun way. I got to read a couple of books, and that was always something that I wish that I could do more of. Reading, I've always enjoyed doing it, but never really prioritized it as much as I have this year. And I actually have a whole stack of books right next to me that I want to show you later on. Books that I'm looking forward to reading this coming year. But before I get to those, you know how I was home a lot with my kids. I was already a homeschooling mom, but I mean, the pandemic just made us like very homeschooled family. And I don't know about you, but there were some parenting challenges that this year brought to the surface. And so I heard someone recommend a book, and I decided to read it. And I'm just about done, but I feel that I've read the majority and I can actually recommend it myself. It's this book right here. It's Setting Limits with Your Strong-Willed Child. It sounds kind of like terrible, right? Oh my gosh, you have a strong-willed child. I mean, if you don't have a strong-willed child, I feel like that's very rare. You are like amazing, right? But I know that I can remember my childhood, and I remember getting corrected a lot by my parents. So I can only imagine my husband also. So I kind of just gather that both of us together combined to make two little babies, there's some strong-willed, genes in there. And so I had to reach out for some help. And it's just getting to the point of putting in the time and effort to do some reading on the topic, because you as a parent will get so much advice from everyone, even from people that you don't know. And I think we kind of default into parenting the way that our parents, did their parenting. And so we kind of just try those things out. And maybe we think, well, I'm not going to do some of those things. But then, like, the things that you do aren't working either. Or you kind of are trying a little bit of everything and it's just not working for whatever reason. And my kids are the sweetest people that I know. They are, they're little. They're really little still, and they're innocent, but they're at the age where they really need like real guidance and setting limits and being very clear about rules. And so I I decided that I needed to really think about this deeper because sometimes if it's not your kids, for whatever reason, it's like a little less complicated to just think this is the solution, and you just do it that much easier because it's not your child. But when it's your child and your child knows you and you guys live together and they know your weak spots, they know when you're distracted and when they can go and do something. And there's just a different dynamic that sometimes you kind of have a blind spot and you don't understand, like, how come I'm not seeing the results I want with the things that I know I need to do, but for whatever reason, it's not working out, or you're just really tired at some point of the day, and you just don't, you just kind of, you just don't want to deal with that. And so anyway, I decided to read this book. And just really briefly, this book isn't like a Christian book, but I think that as I had been praying about to God giving me wisdom to better parent my children, I feel like God sometimes will bring a book recommendation into your view. I feel like this was a good step. This was a good answer to my prayer. And it's important to me that I parent my children well because I feel that part of following Jesus is applying your faith and what the Bible teaches into your parenting role. In the way that you interact with your children, all of your character flaws, you have to deal with those things also as you interact with your children, right? You don't just apply those things with your coworkers or your family members. You have to apply it with the little children in your house as well. And so as I read through this book, there were some things, some values, and the things that are being encouraged in this book. I feel like I could find Bible verses that support these ideas, although they're not in the book. For example, patience, being loving, being respectful to your children. All of these things that when it gets tough in those heated moments with your children, when you feel they're not being obedient to you, or you don't know how best to handle the situation, that's when what I learned in this book, it's giving me more confidence as a parent when I have to deal with those situations throughout the day, because I feel, you know what, I have a plan. Whereas before, I just felt lost, and frustrated, and it was a lot easier to just not try as hard as when you actually know the information now. You commit to it and you give it your all. So there are some things here that go against my family's culture. I'm Hispanic, and there's just some things that come with your background that you kind of just you adopt, like as if that's how you had to parent your kids, or that's the advice that you're given. So I was happy to read this information and to be open about my like the way my parents, for example, some things about that my parents did that are like cultural, that they're not necessarily going to give you the best results. So and also reading this book or any book is not, I'm not saying that just by reading it all your problems are going to be solved, but actually like reading it open-mindedly, humbly, ready to like correct your wrong thinking, and just remembering what you're learning while the scenarios are happening in your day-to-day life. And that's what's really going to bring those changes with time. And I've already seen that it's helped like our family so much in just the few weeks that I've been we've been practicing some of these things. So anyway, I wanted to share this book with you. It mostly reveals what you're doing wrong as the parent, and gives a lot of examples of this author who is I forget the exact title that he is. He's an educational psychologist and family therapist. So he gives a lot of examples of his own practice of a mom and the child, and how he walked through everything that was not effective that the mom was doing or that the dad was doing. And he like writes it down, and he shows, okay, at this point, that's when the child actually, the behavior changed when you did this, and not when you were doing all these other things, like having this heated discussion with your child. And then like he also like helps the parents understand why you're parenting that way, kind of like think back to your own childhood, and was that effective with you. So it does like bring that up, and it teaches how to have better communication with your child, that it's not just enough to kind of hint what you want your child to do, or kind of use manipulative or bringing down language to your child in order to like supposedly motivate your child to do what you want them to do. But it teaches to instead encourage your child, and how to communicate very clearly when you want your child to do it. And it goes through like timeout, and how you go about if this happens or that happens. There's like a lot of examples, which I find really helpful, because what I also took from this book is that if you don't deal with these issues like right now, they're going to continue like as however older your child gets, teenager years. So it you don't want to have that kind of conflict with your child. You want to have a good relationship with your children, a healthy relationship where you as a parent are the ones that set the rules, and that your child knows that there are consequences when they're not following your rules. And those consequences are respectful and coming from a loving place that will encourage them to make better choices. So I recommend this book, and I especially liked that the author brought up forgiveness, that it's very important that you don't just think about your child's bad behavior and you attack their character, that you can forgive the behavior, and like not hold it against your child and who they are, and you can love them and they can know that you love them as you are correcting the wrong behavior. So that is the book that I'm about to finish reading. I'll just show you real quick some of the books that I plan on reading this year. You already know I'm going to be reading The Case for the Resurrection of Jesus. I'm going to also be reading another book. I don't have the title, but it's a part of my church, the women's program, and I'm excited to read that. It's going to be a study through Genesis. And then I've mentioned in another video that I'll be reading these books, and I'll actually be making videos this coming year based off of these books. How to read the Bible for all it's worth, and Playing with Fire, how the Bible ignites change in your soul, and it teaches you how to properly interpret the Bible. I feel like that's something that like God is guiding me about learning more about, and it's really important. This is another book that I recently heard recommended, Know the Truth, a Handbook of Christian Belief by Bruce Milne. And so I'm excited to read about this and go more in depth about the Christian beliefs. This book, I've been wanting to read it, but I've been a little busy with other books, tactics. I feel like this is so practical. This book, I'm excited to read also, The Case for Faith. A journalist investigates the toughest objections to Christianity, Lee Strobel. I think I said that right. And I've been listening to one of his lectures, and man, his story just makes me want to tear up. He has so many like profound stories about the importance of apologetics and people coming to faith, and it's just so humble. It's so encouraging to hear how prayer, God uses prayer to bring people into the knowledge of Him, into believing in Him, as well as apologetics. And this other book, I don't like to keep the plastic on the books, so it's When Skeptics Ask. And I actually got this book from my brother-in-law, and I'm glad he did, because it's also a book that is recommended to me that I read, and I want to read that this coming year. Did I mention this one already? The Fate of the Apostles by Sean McDowell. It's examining the martyrdom accounts of the closest followers of Jesus. And another book that I really want to read is, I'm not sure the title, but it's by Greg Koukl, and I think it's Relativism, something like that. I just have a lot of books that I really want to read. How much time I'll have, not sure, but I'm going to do my best. So those are the books that I have for 2021. And I hope I can encourage you, if you are someone that doesn't like to read, I hope I can encourage you to read 1 or 2 books this 2021. And speaking of 2021, on January the 1st is my husband's birthday, and I want to wish him a happy birthday. He is a very loving husband and dad to our children. He does a lot for us. That's how he communicates his love for us, and we love him very much. If you want to wish him a happy birthday, please do in the comments. He actually helps with the setup of all of my videos. He helps me with the audio, and yeah, with a lot of behind the scenes things, not to mention his support. And so yeah, Happy birthday, honey. Love you.
No quiero vivir sin ti.